Hello, good afternoon. It's Midday live from Adisawe in Accra. My name is Bridget Otu, and in the headlines, NDC retains seat in Boem parliamentary elections, and minority gives its version of the State of the Nation address. And we'll get details from our parliamentary correspondent, Eddie Kwabi. And on the international front, Pope Benedict XVI makes his final address to a general audience in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican before his resignation on Thursday. We've got details of these and sports. Stay with us. Hello again. Now, very first story. Now, the minority in Parliament has downplayed the economic achievement being touted by the Mahama-led administration, addressing the press on its version of the State of the Nation. The minority outlined failures by government to tackle the growing unemployment, economic hardships, and the energy crisis. And Eddie Kwabi is our parliamentary correspondent, and he joins me on the line. Eddie, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bridget.
Yes, we know the minority addressed the press, and one of the things they've talked about is failures, economic hardships, and whatnot. Tell us, who addressed the press?
Well, it was a very long press conference or State of the Nation address, the minority version, if you want to put it. It was a 33-page document, and that was presented by the minority leader, Honorable Oseiche Mensah-Bonsu. Now, he touched on sectors of the economy, key sectors of the economy. He did indicated that the party had supported that the president did not really give a true State of the Nation address, and they needed to correct certain facts put out there by the president. Now, this event...
Eddie, before you even give us the details of that, how did they describe Mahama's State of the Nation address?
Well, they didn't indicate that he did not touch on the true State of the Nation address. Of course, they think that some facts were twisted, and if you permit me, I'll
go like what,
into the exact things some of the things they spoke about.
Right.
They did indicate that on economy, energy, and of course education, the president did not give a true state. And honestly, they said high cost of living is what we are experiencing now, and the country's debt has risen to 33.5 billion cedis, which meant that every week since 2009 that they took over, they have been spending, or they have been borrowing 6 billion from 6 billion. That's made up to the public debt, representing 55% of which were borrowed locally. Now, they said that this is blamed on too much borrowing by the government of the day. They did also indicate that in 2012 the country's fiscal deficit and arrears hit 8.7 billion, which is unprecedented, described by the minority leader. This was as a result of high spending by government, and they are saying that overspending by government constituted most part of the debt we are experiencing now. They say that government spent 600 million at the office of the president just last year alone, and they are saying that the single-digit inflation and all the macroeconomic stability indicated that the government of President Mahama has been indicating is just propaganda. They did indicate that why is that we are experiencing single-digit inflation, and yet interest rates on borrowing are very high, and they did indicate that that was not logical. Now, moving on, they touch on agriculture, and he did indicate that the country is food insufficient, with the high increase in rice importation and of course poultry products. So on that score, that is what they said. On energy, they noted that the current government has not found any better solution to the energy crisis we are experiencing now, and they challenged government to come out and indicate any new innovation that they have come out to solve what we experience in the doom-so that we normally call it. Now, moving on to education, they are saying that the 3-year education that was moved to 4 years yielded better results under the MPP, as compared to the 3 years that has been instituted or brought back by the Mahama administration, with specific reference to the BEC results that came out, and of course the WASI results that came out. So this is what, among others, that we have been speaking about for the past 2 hours that they engaged the media.
Right, Eddie, they mentioned, the minority mentioned that Ghana's debt has risen to 33.5 billion and cost interest rate has gone up. What exactly do they hope to achieve? What do they expect Ghanaians to take from what they are given to us, of course, according to the minority?
Well, they think that the president lied. That is their thinking. If you get a sense of all the members of the minority who thronged the main new block of the Parliament House, this is their sense. Their sense is that, oh well, the president delivered the state of the nation, but that is not the true state of the nation, and they think that what they are presenting will give Ghanaians the right state of the nation, and they will know that indeed the DNC is not sending them to their destination. That is what they want people to believe. So the message being carried across is that, well, the president lied, so we are presenting the right state of the nation address.
Right, Eddie, thank you very much. But before you even go, they've espoused quite a number of things. They are in the minority. They're supposed to interrogate the government. How do they hope to also assist the government in achieving the set targets or the set goals that we are supposed to be reaching?
In the first place, they think that this government is just an interim government. If you get the sense of the whole team, that is the minority team, they think this government is just an interim government, and the sitting court case may change matters in few months to come. So they believe that, well, they are still managing, but they are still managing the economy. That is, the President Mahama is still managing the economy, but they think that in few months' time, the matter of leadership may change and it will be taken over or otherwise. So that is their thinking now. So, for instance, today it was raised that the floor that where were the members of the minority, and they were nowhere to be found. Apparently, they were also addressing the press as we were witnessing. So these are some of the issues. Instead of doing the main chamber to peruse or do business, today they were absent, and the speaker did raise that.
Right, Eddie Kwabi, thank you very much. And that was Eddie Kwabi, our parliamentary correspondent, updating us on the minorities press conference, who they claim presenting the true state of the nation address. Now we'll move on to other stories. And leading members of the majority in parliament insist every member of the House has the right to quiz members of the executive when summoned. They, however, contend the position taken by the minority in boycotting key national assignments needs to be critically examined.
The minority in parliament refused to participate in the vetting of all ministers of state, and subsequently they walked out of the president's State of the Nation address. Some members of the majority have raised concerns, insisting the members of minority must be barred from quizzing the same ministers they refused to vet. Wading into the controversy is the national organizer of the ruling NDC, Yabuatin Jan, asking ministers not to respond to questions which will be posed by the minority in parliament. But the minority leader, Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, says he lacks appreciation of the law.
The admissibility of a question rests with the speaker. So if a member files a question and the question goes to the speaker, he assesses the question and then admits it if he deems it appropriate to accord the question such admission. Maybe it could be a matter relating to a policy of a particular ministry, and because the minister is the head of that ministry, he will be required to respond to that question that may be filed by me. So those are matters that I think if my senior brother Yabuatin Jan, for instance, knew, he would not have made the intervention that he made.
a Minister of State at the presidency and sitting MP for Wa Central, Rashid Popo, thinks same.
You can't issue a punitive measure against a minister who comes to answer questions posed by members of parliament. I think that too cannot hold. They should be allowed to ask questions if they want to, but they should go and sleep and think about what they are doing and see whether their actions are building Ghana or destroying the foundation of our democracy.
But he believes actions of the minority are unacceptable.
Why in the last several years, since 92, they have not accepted any results in which they lost elections? 92, they refused to accept the results. They refused to contest the elections. 96, they wrote the stolen verdict. 2008, they asked the Supreme Court to take a decision and say the results were not valid. 2012, they are going to court again. They should begin to reflect and ask themselves, are we contributing to our democracy in this country?
Member of Parliament for Shai Osudoku, David Tete Esimin, shared similar concerns.
Since my being to Parliament, I believe that the current minority is one of the most disappointing minority that I've ever witnessed. I mean, boycotts are accepted, but not to the level of refusing to recognize the legitimacy of the president of the land.
And Nana Ekuasari hits the streets of Accra to speak to a few people on the key subjects that matter to you. Is on what do you think?
Recently, we've had several reported cases on domestic violence, and we hear some on the media, others we don't. The campaign against domestic violence is still on, and we're asking you this afternoon, is Ghana really winning the campaign against domestic violence and spousal abuse? What do you think?
If you compare to other countries or other news that we've been hearing from other countries, it's in ascendancy, but here it's decreasing. So we are on it. My advice to parents and guardians that they must always exercise patience towards their kids or towards one another. Because with patience, you can overcome all your obstacles.
What I think now and what I'm hearing, I think we need to be educative. That's the thing, because certain things we need to think twice before we proceed, than to do it and then come back to have the mind or to be cautious.
What I think seriously is that Ghana, we are not winning the case against domestic violence, because when you look at the social fabric, it has broken down. Law and order are broken down entirely. Whatever is good in our culture, we should pick it up and try to modernize it. By so doing, we're able to build something up.
Sometimes it just comes natural. Like if you look at a painter case like this, it's normal. So most of, the media people normally hype such issues, because from painter's point of view, say just like a normal marital problems, and people just take it to be other things.
Right, and we'll go back to also look at another subject that's very important to us, and that's a senior lecturer of the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana, Dr. Bosman Asari, has entreated smaller political parties to firewall some regions to secure more votes during elections. He was speaking at the Progressive People's Party's first anniversary lecture in Accra.
Dr. Bosman Asari stated center parties such as the Progressive People's Party are needed in Ghana's democracy.
We apologize for the poor sound there, but we'll move on to other story. A fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, Professor Joseph Ayi, says leadership has become a global renaissance, and as a result, it is a key variable in shaping political and developmental outcomes of a country. He stated development plans in Ghana have been short to medium-term plans, and that inhibits the growth of the country.
Professor Joseph Ayi reiterated the need for leaders to be effective, decisive and development-oriented, adding leadership is very consequential. He further stated, for a nation to develop, there is a need to properly manage resources, promote peace and stability, and the leaders' will to fight corruption. Professor Ayi was of the view Ghana's economy is currently faced with challenges in spite of the positive reports of the IMF.
The economy is still aid-dependent, beholden to the IMF, the World Bank, and the other donors, and suffers from cyclical fiscal lapses and increasing income inequality. 3. Ghana remains a poor country given the UNDP's 2010 Human Development Index, which ranks Ghana 130th out of 169 countries.
He added, though Ghana may be described as a middle-income country, it faces inequitable distribution of growth, particularly among regions, gender, youth and the private sector. Professor Ayi maintained, though previous governments have taken anti-corruption stance, their stance lacked action, describing it as merely rhetorical.
The efforts also seem to be the efforts of the leaders also seem to have been thwarted by the fact that the leaders are also interested in actually perpetrating the canker. Now, it seems to me that there is an unenthusiastic approach by the leaders in dealing with corruption, even though it constitutes a major challenge to good governance.
He therefore called on leaders to be dedicated to the common good of human conditions.
What Ghana desperately needs, therefore, is an authentic or a truly transformational and development leaders who are committed to developing leaders or their followers into leaders dedicated to the common good and the enhancement of human condition in the country.
NDC's Kwesi Ashiama has been elected the MP-elect for the Boem constituency. He polled 9,336 votes, representing 84.68 of the total valid votes cast. That's 11,060 to beat 4 other contestants. Reverend Simon Yanka, returning officer who announced the winner, said there were 187 rejected ballots, with a total vote cast totaling 11,247, with 37,127 registered voters on its nominal roll. Mr. Sharma thanked his constituents for electing him following the demise of the late Henry Ford Kamel, who died on Christmas Day, 25th of December. My colleague Komla Kluche has been in the Volta region following this story, and he's already spoken to the MP-elect, and he joins us on the line. Komla, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bridget.
What is the MP saying, MP-elect? What is he saying?
Bridget, basically what he intends to do now is to rally the constituents behind him to forge ahead for the development of the constituency. He tells me that he knows there are a lot of challenges for the constituency. One, bad roads, the level of education, not anything to write home about, health infrastructure, not the best, and then also economic empowerment of the people. He reckons there's a development deficit of the constituency, but there's a need for him to also continue with the good works of the late Member of Parliament, Henry Ford Kamel. So within his first 100 days, what he intends to do is to rally the constituents together and then also concentrate more on projects started by the late Member of Parliament. Then after which he can veer into his own development agenda for the people. But there's a lot of expectations from him by the people of the Boem constituency.
Yeah.
They say that there is a need for him to establish some development that will be visible in the sense that when it comes to Boem, I mean, if you really know the terrain, it's a forest area or surrounded by forest reserve. There is a need to explore the forest or the natural resource potential of the constituency, and then also the good in cocoa cultivation. So he wants to make the constituency a hub of cocoa production in the country. Difficult it may be, but he is very optimistic that with the support of everybody on board, he will be able to carry out all of this.
Right. Komla Kluche, just to take you back a bit, not so long ago we had the Akachi by-elections, and I remember some concerns were raised, especially when the independent candidate did not win and the NDC candidates win. The circumstance surrounding this one is quite different, and he polled 84.68%. Have you had such concerns? Are people concerned with the results?
Bridget, yesterday when the results were announced, I can tell you that just a handful of people that supporters around him were jubilant. But in town, the mood was very calm and somber, because one do attribute it to the fact that they're still mourning, and then again, not a lot more education was done for the by-election, according to the constituents that we spoke to. Like I did tell you yesterday that the rain also disrupted a little bit. So all of this, all in all, did account for the low turnout. But the Electoral Commission going forward has indicated that there's a need to beef up education and beef up the enthusiasm in instances like this, so that we'll have a lot more people coming on board to take it. I mean, if you look at the performance of Henry Ford Camel in that's last year, he had well over 90,000 votes. And if you look at what this gentleman is at now, Daniel Chairman is at now, it's just a little over 9,000 votes. So I mean, it tells you that it's way below the belt. 30-point-something% turnout. Nothing to write home about. Nonetheless, he has won the by-election to represent Boem in Parliament.
All right. Komla Kluche, thank you very much. And that was my colleague Komla Kluche updating us on developments in the Boem constituency. And the people are expectant. At the same time, they are mourning the death of the late MP Henry Ford Camel. And we'll move on to other story. And Africa Center for Development and Integrity, a social accountability group, wants civil society organizations, the media, and the entire citizenry to hold government in check to ensure accountable governance. At a press conference in Accra, the group described recent boycott by the opposition NPP in Parliament as shameful and a betrayal of trust reposing them by their constituents.
It has been proven, unfortunately, that we cannot count on the opposition. When you need the opposition to be asking critical questions, you are told that it is my prerogative to be in Parliament or not. The citizen, civil society organizations, and the media must take up the responsibility of ensuring that our governments work for us.
According to the group, governments since 1992 have failed to achieve 40% of their manifestos, as there were no clear targets to measure performance.
President Obama says we will rationalize the use of fuel by government officials and public officers. Now, how do you measure rationalization of fuel use? But if there's a clear policy that every minister is entitled to 40 gallons of fuel every month, and the policy is transparent, open, so that a citizen can pick up the policy, demand for information from ministry, and check to be sure that we are being governed fairly.
On the President's State of the Nation address, the group said government must demonstrate leadership in addressing the problems confronting the country.
One of our biggest questions is that if Parliament is giving 4 years rent advances, as in the case of this Parliament, which was giving 50,000, would government have the courage to enforce any of those rent laws?
The group further proposed an annual accountability forum to engage parliamentarians to promote good governance.
The attitude of Parliament towards the Right Information Bill is very questionable. For a bill which has great chance of enhancing accountability to remain in Parliament for over 3 years one simply wonders Parliament's commitment to integrity and accountability.
To some health stories now, and excessive bleeding after birth, according to the Ghana Maternal Health Survey, contributes significantly to the rising number of maternal deaths recorded in hospitals and clinics across the country. The situation, according to health experts, requires swift action from government and other stakeholders.
This was made known at the launch of Mamaye, a program aimed at sensitizing the public on the need to play respective roles in reducing maternal and child mortality. Health experts are of the view much has to be done to ensure that expectant mothers and their babies survive. Statistics from WHO indicates that 2,700 women die from pregnancy and childbirth complications in Ghana annually, a figure that is very disturbing and requires urgent attention. The Mamaye initiative would use the latest digital and mobile technology to challenge certain notions that death of mothers and babies is natural or God's will. Though maternal mortality rate has improved, more needs to be done, as it currently stands at 350 deaths per 1,000 births. The acting Deputy Minister of Health, Wojo Metununu, noted Ghana is unlikely to meet the Millennium Development Goal 4 on reducing child mortality by 2015.
Vice President Parkwesi Emisa Arthur has paid glowing tribute to Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah for laying the political and economic foundation of this country. At a ceremony to inaugurate a bookshop in his memory, he touted the ideological stance of Ghana's first president in advancing the liberation struggle in Africa.
The bookshop was put together by the Socialist Forum of Ghana to mark the 47th anniversary of the overthrow of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah on February 24, 1966. A coup reactionary force from within conspired with external powers to oust the great Pan-Africanist. The Socialist Forum explained the inauguration was part of activities to eulogize and immortalize the great works of the African hero. The shop has books, special writings, and artifacts of the late first Ghanaian president. The chairman of the Nkrumah centenary celebrations, Professor Akila Pasoya, performed the inauguration.
In launching these events, I think it's important for us to remember that it is not simply to honor Nkrumah as a person, although that is well deserved. For a start, his vision, leadership of country, of continent, and of a whole people deserve full recognition and acknowledgement in themselves. It is therefore quite proper to acknowledge and celebrate Kwame Nkrumah the person.
Vice President Emisa Arthur said Ghana's economic path was crafted by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
We need to ask questions about Nkrumah and what he stood for, what lessons he has for us, what inspiration he gives us. Although he was a Democrat, he was loyal to the country, was patriotic, and he sought political and economic emancipation for his people. We need to ask fundamental questions about our society, where it is going, the choices that are available to us.
He promised to champion a fund to support the library and promote free distribution of Nkrumah's books to patrons. A magazine, The Nkrumahist, was also launched by a member of the Socialist Forum of Ghana, Bazini Tando.
My colleague Nana Ikyasari again went out there to speak to people on what they make of the minorities' continuous boycott of state functions.
Some stalwarts of the New Patriotic Party have critiqued the recent boycotts by the minority on the floor of Parliament, and today we are asking you what you make of the continuous boycotts by the minority from activities on the floor of the House. What do you think?
It's not actually going to help the nation, because the activities going on there is going to affect the whole nation. So I think they should take part in order to bring that people that can lead the nation.
They should forget about their political differences and then think about how to come together and then move the nation forward.
Whether you belong to MPP or NDC, now the issue is in courts. So the final decision has not yet been made. So until then, you are in the parliament to help build a nation.
It doesn't make sense, because if they keep on boycotting whatever the NDC is doing, they shouldn't forget that 2016 is just around the corner. And if should in case the MPP win in 2016, and for some reason NDC also says that okay fine, we're also not accepting the results and that they're also boycotting whatever they're doing, they wouldn't be too happy with it.
I think it's not right. They are not serving their constituency right, and it's not the best thing to be doing. They should come back to the house and let us build on our democracy. That's the best way for it.
What they are doing is really drawing the nation backwards. By the way, they are continuously boycotting parliament, and if they are continuously boycotting it, then they shouldn't take their pace because they are not working.
Yes, Bridges has been going through all the local updates of stories on our front, but I'm in to do business. My name is Kweku Temenwa. This afternoon we take a look at the energy sector, where we specifically emphasize on oil, and then we'll look much further at Ghana's rice import and also delve into other business stories. Just be my guest as we get more details. The Dutch-ridden Tama Oil Refinery will soon be freed from the shackles of government control and allowed to price their own oil they refine. That's according to the Minister of Energy and Petroleum, Emmanuel Kofi-Boa, who says the cycle of borrowing and under recovery at toll, which is as a result of government's failure to fulfill their commitment to the refinery in terms of paying for subsidies, was unsustainable. Toll, he said, must solicit prices for its product in order to break the cycle of debts and inefficiencies. Toll will have to be efficient, set its own prices, and be competitive. That's according to the minister. Government has been blamed for causing the spiraling debt which has crippled the refinery because of successive governments for political inexpediency and have made toll set prices artificially low, often with the promise of reimbursing the refinery. But government never redeems its commitment, putting toll in financial distress. Well, so we'll try and follow and get more details from Toll. We've been trying to reach Abba Loco on that particular story. As and when we get him, we'll put him here on the line. But let's do some other details. Now, Ghana is a very big market for rice from the United States of America. Now, between January to November year 2012, total U.S. rice sales to Ghana of all varieties equaled 110,000 metric tons from January to November 2012, as 25% increase compared to the same time in year 2011, and it doubled that of year 2009's import figure. The rise in the imports is as a result of more than 10 years of promotional activities in Ghana by the U.S. Rice Federation, a market it describes as key. Now, Ghana is the largest commercial market for U.S. rice in West Africa. It produces and maintains about a third of the Ghanaian rice market over the last several years. Well, the U.S. Embassy's cable leased by WikiLeaks against August 26, year 2011, reported on that particular rice import into the country. Now, in year 2009, for instance, local rice farmers produce only 30% of the country's requirement. The remaining two-thirds, worth $500 million was imported. Meanwhile, available figures show that milled rice imports have dropped from 460,000 metric tons in year 2011 to 400,000 metric tons in year 2012. If you just joined us, you're still live on News 3. That's Midday Live. Let's look at other details. Now, patrons of domestic airlines are agitated over flight delays stemming from the inconsistent supply of aviation fuel. Abigail Adomakwenchi reports that apart from contending with increased fares, passengers are left stranded at the airport waiting for flights they fear could be cancelled at any point in time.
Airline operators are hard hit by the erratic supply of aviation fuel as they lament over losses. Also affected are clients of the airlines operating in the country. At about 10 Tuesday morning, passengers were stranded at the domestic terminal for their flights, which had delayed. Though some had already checked in, the uncertainty surrounding whether or not they will get flights to their destinations got them agitated.
I'm traveling to participate in Ghana Health Service annual performance review. Oh, I'm late because the program has already started. I'm still sitting here. I don't know if the flight will come. I don't know, I'm so confused.
Actually, I was here yesterday and they told us the flight is full, and so I couldn't go to where I was going to. Then today when I came, I was supposed to check in around 7:30 and they told me I should wait. They are not sure whether there will even be a flight. So I was waiting till around 10 before they told us we should come and check in. And it's really affected me because I have something business going to do.
Some expressed worry over the communication gap between airline operators and government down to passengers.
The communication gap between the hub and the consumer, the operators, the airline operators and consumer, I think that's why I have a little problem. It's not very effective as I would want to have it. If I had a communication that the flight is going to delay, I could use the time spent for something else.
Operators attributed flight delays to a time lag in information flow between them and fuel suppliers.
We're equally not informed as of yesterday. We didn't know there would be delay in the refueling, so we didn't have the opportunity to be able to inform passengers early enough. And once passengers got to the airport, we were even not able to tell exactly when the fuel will be available because the oil marketing companies were also unable to tell us exactly when they would finish what they were doing to be able to supply us with fuels. We can only hope that the government will respond with all these problems affecting the industry. The earlier the government resolves the financial issues with the bulk distribution companies, the better for the industry as a whole.
Till adequate supply of aviation fuel is restored, not only will it cripple domestic airline operations, passengers may have to resort to the road or continue to bear the brunt of flight delays.
You can also get more business details from our website www.tv3network.com. Just browse through and get more business updates. My name is Kweku Temendu.
Good afternoon, Ebenezer.
Yeah, good afternoon, Joe.
Did John Pentle really attempt suicide?
The line is a bit faint, so I can't really hear your question.
Well, did John Pentle attempt suicide, if you can hear me?
Well, I issued a statement, and then that was the exact words the doctor told us yesterday at the hospital after him fading out. Actually, this is what really happened. John got up in the morning, did his normal duties, and then he dressed up because he had an appointment at the Ghana Football Association and then with the Ghana Police Service. So just at the time that we're about to take off, that's when he faded off. So we called his driver to make sure that everything is fine, and then we rushed him to the hospital. And when we went to the hospital, the doctor said he suffered from exhaustion and dehydration. It means that in the last 5 days, the pressure that has come on him is very, very high, and that's taking a toll on him. So I think now that everything is clear, you guys will leave him a bit for him to relax. That's why I put it there that he needs his privacy at this time. That he needs to recover. So I'm begging all the media houses in Ghana that you give him that privacy that he needs.
Okay, how is he feeling now, and when is he supposed to go and sign that bond, the bond he's supposed to sign at the Legon police station?
He's supposed to go and see the police with regards to whether him signing a bond or not. That will depend on what goes on at the police station. But because he suffered that blackout yesterday, we called the police to tell them that this is the situation, and then when the doctor gives him the clearance, definitely we'll be at the police station to make sure that we sort things out before jumping to finally to Tel Aviv in Israel.
All right, thank you very much, Ebenezer Edu. We've been speaking to Ebenezer Edu, who is the media advisor to Black Stars defender John Pentil, clearing the air that John Pentil did not attempt to commit suicide after issues over the alleged assault on the wife, Richlaf Pentil, over the week. Good afternoon, Mr. Oyedeji.
Good afternoon, Mr. Champion.
The issues that are cropping up, churning out after Ghana's performance at the African Cup of Nations, is it to you, is it a worry to looking forward to our 2014 World Cup qualifier and the 2015 CAN in Morocco?
No, we can even leave the CAN in Morocco aside and talk about Brazil 2014. It's a very worrying development, very, very worrying. We had the statement from the coach after the tournament that everybody is welcome. So far as you are a Ghanaian and you are fit to play, you are ready to play. And then out of the blues, I think 48 hours ago, 24 hours ago, they came out that they want to take a leave of absence. Is it a French leave? I don't know how to describe it. And then come back when they want to. And that is not how it's done. The country is bigger than any individual, group of individuals. So everybody should play his own part. What happens if a player that has decided not to play for the nation arrives at the Kotoka airport from abroad, and an immigration officer also says, I'm not ready to work, which of us you are also not ready to play. So it is a sort of a symbiotic relationship that human beings use to build a society and to build a nation. So I think it's a very unfortunate development, and their decision is not acceptable to me, especially Andre, who is supposed to be the crown prince of this whole the African Championship. And know that it was a few years ago the BBC Footballer of the Year, and the third place player at the CAF Footballer of the Year. And according to the late Jordan, I'm not going to have to stand up mention his name, my godfather. He said that Jordan in particular is more academic oriented, so I can forgive Jordan if, for example, he was now to combine more of the academics with football rather than the reverse for Andre, who wants to use more football than this. So it's not a good development. And I think everybody should take note of this fact, that we have had a series of players in the past who have behaved likewise, and that they didn't get the glory that they deserve. You see, when you don't wear the jersey for your national team, then you lose the innermost support, the moral support, the spiritual support of your people. Yeah, Azumenesi won all these laurels because Ghanaians kept vigil anytime he was fighting or preparing for a fight, and he got the glory. And the glory also reflected on the whole populace. That is the meaning of being a star. That's the meaning of being an artist. Because the money you are earning is how money is transfer earnings. The money you have earned, the money I have earned, with part of which is now used as either as a tax or as a donation to give to you to be more comfortable than the others.
So moving forward, do you think there will be pressure on Kwesi Appiah selecting the side to face Sudan in the qualifiers and going into the World Cup proper? Should we qualify?
Oh no, it wouldn't be so much of a pressure. He has lost a gem. Oh, Sule should come back. As for Sule, I think we need to just pick the phone right here and call 1 or 2, 3 people in this country, and they will call him. The people who discovered him. I'm talking of people like Abu Sundoku, Jones Atukofu, and Adi Has. Let these 3 people talk to him. I can put my last CD on the table. That if they talk to him, Sule will take the next plane and come to the Black Stars camp. As for Kevin, he was born abroad. That's my understanding. So his orientation is a bit different. It's different because he doesn't understand why when we are going to play we sing some spiritual songs. He doesn't understand why we keep to ourselves at particular moments in the dressing room. He doesn't, because the orientation is totally different. That is what made the Gerard Asamoah of Germany. When he came to the Black Star camp, he could not understand what was happening. He said, why? We are going to play football. What all this degree of spiritualism? Anybody who says that there is no spiritual contribution to the success of an African player or South American player, and to some extent an Asian player, is lying. I don't want to talk about the Europeans who put all sorts of photographs of their mom, their aged father, their in their homes to go and play. We also have our motivation. In Brazil, their motivation is to quarrel with you in the tournament. That's what they did to the black starlets under those articles in New Zealand, 1999. You remember? I remember all these things. And Joe said at home, you shouldn't worry. That is their own way of psyching themselves up for a match. We sing this spiritual song. Officer,
before you go on and on with the songs, what should be done? Is there a problem at the GFA? What should be done to ensure that in totality we have our Black Stars side? We know that this is the stars that are going to represent us to get us the trophies in all the tennis that we'll be going for.
Yes, we go back, Sankofa, we go back to history. And 63 we won it because everybody was localized, all the players were there. I'm going to have the Benkofi and CKG. They said they were using the Eastern European system, 2 key players from each club, so it doesn't disturb the chemistry of any club. So these players formed the Republicans and then they played as Black Stars. 65, CKJ decided to take students. Majority of them were students, apart from Ado Damiti and John Nawu. That is Mbok. And then 82, 78, Ozambibi had the luxury of playing with a lot of talented players, and they won the cup in 82. And when we knew what happened, people like Banama Nissen, Manuel Kwasha and Co came on board, and they won the cup. Now, this is a new dispensation. There's a change in the whole world. There's this paradigm shift from a patriotic player to a money-oriented, you understand, money-motivated international player. So now we want to put the money issue in the right perspective. People are saying that the money given to the Black Stars is too much. It's not too much because you can't quantify glory. What they should do now is that any player that Kwesi Appiah wants should be made known to the public, and then the agency should be made available. You know what Togolese do to Seyi Adebayo? They brought number 4. They say, this is your agency. If you like come from UK to take it, if not, so it got to the camp late. So we have all these different scenarios which we should put together, and I think the best thing for Kwesi Appiah, the president of GFA, to do it is set up a special task force. Not only about technical people, not only about that, not only about medical people, but also about media men, including Joel Acham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oyedeji. We'll be continuing tomorrow. We've been looking at the state of the senior national team, the Black Stars, as well as issues that has to do with John Pentil, Suliali Muntari, and you brothers who say they're taking a temporary leave of the senior national team, the Black Stars. Thanks for joining me here on the sports segment. My name is Joel Acham.